What are the main sources of income for the Scottish economy, and how would hard Brexit affect them? And essentially, what does Scotland have to lose in case of Brexit?
Scotland has a great deal to lose if there is a hard Brexit. Some of the things that we would lose almost immediately would be 80,000 Scottish jobs. We would also significantly reduce incomes across Scotland by £2,000 per person. So we need to avoid that if we possibly can. Scotland's economy is quite diverse. We focus on tourism. We have a large agricultural sector. We have an excellent food and drink sector. And of course we have oil and gas. So we've got quite a diverse economy. We export quite a lot of our goods and produce and services. And it's for those reasons that the European Union is important to us. We must have access to the single market, we must have access to the customs union, and we enjoy the opportunities that come with the free movement of people. So for all of those reasons, remaining within the EU is very important to the people of Scotland.
Thank you. And you mentioned oil industry. If Scotland becomes independent, will it keep the oil and gas revenues?
Scotland's oil and gas sector is one of the most important anywhere in the world. Scotland has enormous oil and gas reserves. Something like 96% of the UK's oil and gas reserves are in Scotland's international waters. So if Scotland was to become an independent country, the tax revenues that currently go to the Exchequer in London, here at Westminster, would then be diverted to the Scottish Exchequer in Edinburgh. That's an enormous amount of money. It obviously varies depending on exchange rates and the amount that's been exported and things like that. But what we can say is that Scotland would be similar to Norway, which is now the richest country in the world, because of the way that it has wisely used its oil and gas reserves. The UK sadly has frittered away Scotland's oil and gas reserves. We've got no savings that have been built up over the years, and that's quite wrong. So an independent Scotland wouldn't necessarily extract all of the oil and gas from our international waters and spend the money. What I would like to see is that we use that resource wisely and that we save for the future to make sure that the people of Scotland have got a safe, secure and prosperous future ahead of them, just like Norway.
What is your prognosis? How will the Scottish Parliament vote on Wednesday?
On Wednesday, the Scottish Parliament has a vote on the issue of whether there should be another independence referendum. I think the Scottish Parliament will vote for another independence referendum, and the rest of the world needs to know that the people who sit in the Scottish Parliament are the representatives of the Scottish people. So that will be a vote from the Scottish people for an independence referendum. In my experience as a constituency member of Parliament, my constituents want another referendum, and that's exactly what they should have.
Do you know what the polls say? How many Scottish people would like to Scotland to be an independent country?
The current polls in the UK and in Scotland particularly are showing that just over 50% of the population at the moment want an independent Scotland. There's another poll that's been running recently which has looked at attitudes towards remaining a member of the European Union, and that shows that just 17%, only 17%, don't want anything to do with the European Union. Far, far more than 75% of the people of Scotland want a continuing relationship with the European Union. So that's clearly more than voted to remain in the EU in June 2016. So two polls, one showing that there is growing support for independence and the second showing that there is growing support to remain a member of the EU. That's the current political position in Scotland, and it's for those reasons that we will be having another referendum if the Scottish Parliament votes for it this coming Wednesday.